Good evening and a very warm welcome to First Issues. We do not do many profiles on the program, but tonight's interviewee inspired us to do exactly that. Born December 15th, 1943 in Senyawe village, Samuel Mpuchane has had a long and well-documented career that includes public and diplomatic service and stellar entrepreneurial ventures. What his virtual CV does not immediately reveal, however, is that he was posted as First Secretary in the Botswana mission to the UN at just 27 years of age. The beginnings of a diplomatic career that would see him become part of historic missions such as those between Botswana and South Africa during the tensions that characterized the last years of apartheid rule in that country. Mr. Mpuchane had returned home from his foreign postings at a time when negotiations between government and De Beers Mining Company for the development of Dranning Town were getting underway, and had been appointed to lead the government team taking part in those course-charting talks. As a business magazine, our interest in him is of course based on his successes in the world of business that took place after he retired from the public and diplomatic service in 1990 at the age of 47, work for which he was awarded the Presidential Order of Meritorious Service in 1993. He has undertaken many ventures since, and most people know him as the retired director of the World Group of Companies, the parent company to Builders World. And this evening we look to him for some of the secrets to his success. In researching you, I found a Finnish article in which you are quoted as saying that you probably know all there is to know about doing business in Botswana, which is part of the reason why we as First Issues sought you out, for you to share with us what you have learned about building a sustainable business here in Botswana and the managing of financial and other resources as an entrepreneur.
Well, there's really no magic to it. First of all, you have to have made up your mind that you're going to make a go of it. And you select what you are going to do, and you have a passion for it, which I believe is what I set out to do a couple of years ago. But then beyond that, you've got to, once your business gets started, you've got to get the right kind of personnel. And managing finances is very important. You get yourselves a good finance manager, because you may be an entrepreneur, you know how to maybe manufacture things, or maybe you know how to buy and sell things, but you may not be the expert at managing the finances. So you need somebody who will do that. And that's precisely what we did. We knew that we were not going to be able to do that. Initially, the business was self-managed, but as it grew, we found that we had to get other people, select the kind of people that we believe are similarly minded and can help focus the business, manage it, and grow it with you.
What mistakes do you see up-and-coming business people make? The most common mistakes you think we as Botswana make when it comes to not just business actually, but even in personal financial management? Where do you see the biggest mistakes?
We are learning, and we have to learn. We must learn fast. We have to get ourselves into this money economy. We're coming from a rural economy primarily. Many of us are first-generation business people, and which means a number of people our age, and even those younger than ourselves, find they have a problem dealing with money issues. In other words, I get into business, I sell goods or services, and the biggest temptation, maybe not even temptation, it's just really that we maybe we don't quite appreciate what it is to regard the income coming in from selling either goods or services as profit. Whereas, in fact, it isn't. Out of that, we have to pay, first and foremost, our suppliers, our banks, our employees. If and when there is anything left over, that's our profit.
If and when.
If
They
and
might not be.
Yes, indeed. If and when anything is left over, that would be our profit. And what we want to do with that is to grow it and not to spend it immediately, to grow it because that's what helps us to grow the business, right? But the temptation is usually to regard everything as profit, and we start spending it on things which are extraneous to the business, and we leave the business dry and it collapses. Yeah, we learn. I've come across a number of people who have, some people really out of genuine ignorance. But once they have been down there and they come up and now they have learned, they know, maybe the business person is not the best custodian of the finances, as I was saying earlier. So they entrust somebody else to look after the finances. They go out there to get the business and do it.
Welcome back to First Issues as we continue to speak to one of Botswana's most successful business people, Samuel Mpuchane, about all he has learned in his decades of experience as an entrepreneur. You mentioned how most of us, or many people, are first-generation business people. How do you teach second-generation entrepreneurs or business people, such as your children? How do you communicate these messages to a younger?
It's not easy, but you know, nowadays we say even at primary school level, we should teach children about managing finances. You know, the pocket money, how to manage it. Just to tell them that it's not for you just to go and spend all of it. Let's see how you can grow. I'll give you 5 pula. Let's see that next week when I talk to you, you can tell me you still have got 3 pula. You know that sort of thing. And what I started doing with my son, he was at Grahamstown, he was at St. Andrew's College. I said to him, if out of your pocket money, every 3 months we look at what you've got. If you got so much left, I'll double it. You know, just starting to say, you know, the guy is out there, and Grahamstown is a small town, which means it's manageable to people who have no vehicles. They can go into a store there, a restaurant there, a bar there, and so on and so forth. And in no time they could have absolutely no money. They could be penniless. And that was by way of trying to encourage saving. Yeah, but you don't always succeed. Just before you came, I was talking to my son. I said, you know, to him, we need to talk more. I talk quite a lot to young people, mostly in business. Some want to start, others are already in business. They want just to be advised about this or that. Yeah, but you know, I believe that even at primary school level, we should start doing that. In business, we should be doing that. And in my small way, individually, I do that with young people. Try to encourage them, try to help them to know that, look, you don't go splash on a motor vehicle the next day after you know, usually they do tenders. I don't believe very much in tenders myself, but many of these young people do tenders and they get money, get hold of it, the following day is driving you know.
A Lamborghini.
Yeah, something like that. So that's not the way to grow.
Do you think the business environment in Botswana has changed much from when you started out, or are the same principles at work even now?
Basically, things haven't changed. The basic things that make Botswana attractive remain. In other words, as a peaceful country, as a democracy, governed by a constitution and laws and so forth, and there is respect for the rule of law and so on. Those things remain intact. Our problem is an attitudinal problem, and it's been getting worse over the years. We have become, I would say, more and more hemmed in. In other words, we are too inward looking. We can actually be regarded as, in a way, maybe if I said xenophobic is a bit too strong, but we don't like foreigners very much. And yet we want foreigners to invest here. How is it going to work? It can't work. So we have that schizophrenic attitude towards people who might come here to work with us to grow our economy. And that is where I find there's a problem. But even with us, I mean, when we started, it was difficult to get, let's say, a trading license, for example. But it was not as difficult as it is. Nowadays, you can spend 2 years trying to get a building permit, trying to get a license for this or that. It's worse if you are like us. You know, accountants are very scarce in the world. You try to get an accountant from outside, you could be waiting for 6 months, a year. We've had people live in this country who have been in business for 20, 30 years. Suddenly there's no residence or work permit for them. They leave, and as they leave, they close the businesses. And you have, what, 20, 40, 60 people out of employment. Somebody was telling me that a number of business people who have relocated from here, they are in Namibia today. They just cross over.
So no, more accepting environment.
Yeah, it's not that we are difficult, but it's just that there's so much bureaucracy. I think we have mixed messages. I read something that Mr. Sive, BITC, said they are having extreme difficulties attracting people here. They go out, talk to people, they try to come here, and then it's difficult, and they go away. I've talked to business people myself. Sometimes, I go around, what is it like in Botswana? I always say it's very good, come. And then they come, and then they go.
So we were more open in the past.
We were more open in the past. We are getting more and more closed, I'm afraid. It's a problem.
Bringing the conversation back to the individual Motswana, do you think our perceptions or understandings about wealth has changed over the years?
I think so. It has evolved. Remember, we used to think of wealth in terms of the animals up here. But I know a number of farmers nowadays want to diversify into other forms of wealth. But also, we are more connected into the rest of the world, and we see what other people are doing. I think the younger people more and more want to be in the kind of business that the next country is doing. And they are ambitious, they want to do things. They may need assistance here and there, so that, look, they steady down and get focused. As they should not be in such a hurry that they trip over. But certainly there is an evolution in terms of how we look at business, and it's a healthy thing.
Welcome back to First Issues as we continue to speak to one of Botswana's most successful business people, Samuel Mpuchane. You're such a consummate entrepreneur. You've already given us an idea of somebody who sets one opportunity up, gets it to run by itself while he continues to look for other opportunities. But you started off in the public service as a diplomat.
Yes.
How was that transition? Or not many people leave the public service, especially at that level. Can you tell us what went into that?
You see, yes, indeed, I spent perhaps longer in the foreign service than I did in the rest of the public service. But I worked at different ministries, different sectors of our economy. I was in the office of the president, I was in the foreign service, I was at mineral resources, I was at local government and lands. And throughout these assignments, I learned about Botswana. And I got a very broad picture of what Botswana was about. Right. Now, the latter part of my career in the public service was spent abroad in the United Kingdom. I visited Scandinavian countries. I was even posted as ambassador to the Soviet Union, even though I was resident in the UK. All these things, these postings taught me a lot. While I was out there, I started thinking about my life outside the public service. And I started looking at what could I possibly do after the public service. And I looked at various sectors. And subsequently, I came to Gaborone. I was permanent secretary for foreign affairs for 5 years. And all this time I was looking at various sectors until I got to know. Remember, when I left the public service, it was at the height of the problems that we had with South Africa on one side of our country and Namibia to the western side of our country. And there was a heightened talk of economic sanctions against South Africa, which would definitely affect Botswana. Procurement was going to be an issue, and I was looking at how I could possibly assist in that sort of window. And that's how I came to the kind of business that I went into.
At the National Business Conference in Francistown, you had said that, speaking about the sheep that you had to entrust to other people, you said that if managers are given a growth mindset, they are more likely to develop their employees better. I know I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But could you explain what you meant?
You see, in business, as a leader, I want the managers, my managers, to be empowered. I want them to think for themselves. I can give them guidance. We have a strategic direction, but then let them fill in the details. But beyond that, I also want to know that they empower their own people, the people working with and under them, so that they also grow. Because if they don't grow, at the grassroots level, people always come to say, there's this, that problem, what must I do? In my whole career, even in the public service, I always encourage people to think out problems. Come to me with a suggestion to say, I've looked at this or that problem, and here's what I propose to do. And then I say, yeah, I may ask a few questions. Much of the time, I'll find that the person is truly confident they have thought about it, and I'll say, yes, go ahead, do it.
And you think this makes for more efficient running?
Absolutely, because if you are meant to do it alone, you will not need these people. You were never meant to do it alone.
What made you take a step back and have other people run the company? Was it to free up more of your time? Was it recognizing that they had what it takes to take the company further than you could at the time? What was the thinking behind that?
In our group of companies, we have a chain of stores which form up the World Group of companies. Okay, but what we do is at each store we will have a manager, and that manager would have some shareholding in that, so that it's actually in a way self-managed, the way we started it. And then we move on to open more and more stores. So that frees me up to look forward, to look abroad, the big picture, look at more opportunities.
I think quite a few people struggle with selecting the right people. Have you discovered some type of trick to making sure that this person is of the right frame of mind or the temperament you are looking for?
It's true, we all struggle to find the right people. You will make mistakes, that's for sure, and we've made quite a couple of mistakes. You find we've got the wrong person. But there is a way of interviewing, talking to people, talking to other people who know them, until you finally get the right person. Sometimes you think you got the right person only to discover later that it wasn't such a good person after all. There isn't really a magic to it, it's a trial and error.
What do you think are the most important things you first had to learn? What needed to really shift in your mind?
Primary business was buying and selling. Let's put it this way. Selling was not quite foreign to me. I learned how to sell things way back in my life, even when I was at primary school. I used to sell things. Now, getting to know how to buy, and buy right, because if you buy, you want to be able to sell at a competitive price. So, you have to learn negotiation, you have to learn about the items that you are buying and you're going to sell, so that you can learn what the actual price is. Because you're going to buy this cup of tea here, you could be told so many prices about it. I come to you and say, we come to me and I would like to buy this cup. And I say 10 pula, you go to someone else and he says 12 pula. How are you going to know what the real price is? Where to begin? Should we offer 5 pula? Or should you offer 10 pula? That's the thing. You get to learn how to negotiate, but also you have that feel of what it really costs in the market, so that you can determine what to pay for it, and then to determine what you're going to sell it for. That's one thing. And the second thing, because we're dealing with quite a multiplicity of items, I had to get into the store, into the yard. I was found wearing a cap, counting nails, carrying bags of cement, learning different types of steel. Because if you don't know what it is, what it does, you are going to have a problem selling it.